Hello, myself Dr. Achita Bhaikar, and today we are going to study the main functional areas of the cerebral cortex. Brodmann in 1909 has divided the cerebral cortex into 47 such areas which differ in structure as well as its function. So, according to the function of the cerebral cortex, we have divided this into three types, that is the motor areas, the sensory areas and the association areas. Motor areas is having the motor function and it forms the corticospinal and corticonuclear tracts. Whereas the sensory areas are sensory in function and they receive the afferents from the thalamic nuclei, and this thalamus is concerned with the major sensory pathway where major sensory pathway terminates. The third type is the association area, which comprises about 75% of the total surface area of the cerebral cortex, and it is having important function as association, integration and cognition. Now this cerebral cortex is important for doing some functions such as the conscious awareness, the thought processing, memory and intellect. So these are the main functions of the cerebral cortex, and most of the sensory modalities which ascends to the cortex comes from the thalamus, perceived and interpreted in the light of previous experience. The posterior part of the cerebrum, it receives the sensory information such as the parietal lobe is somatosensory, the occipital lobe is mainly concerned with the vision, and the temporal lobe, it is in relation with the hearing component. Information is elaborated to the association cortex, that is sight to the occipital lobe, hearing to the temporal and touch to the parietal lobe. And the limbic system, which is shown here in blue color, helps us in storage and retrieval of the information which is processed in the posterior part of the cortex. Now let's study the functional areas in the frontal lobe. So frontal lobe is the anterior part of the cerebrum which is concerned with mainly the organization part of the movement. And here we can see it is in front of the central sulcus. This yellow color part is a primary motor area, whereas the premotor area is shown in this diagram as a light color. This is the premotor area. Then there is a supplementary motor area which is not seen in this view, but it is present on the medial side of the hemisphere, that is the medial frontal gyrus. Then there is a prefrontal area which is in front of the motor and premotor areas, is called as the prefrontal area. Now let's study each area in detail. Firstly, the primary motor cortex, which is also called as the area 4 of Brodmann, which is outlined here in the red color and which is filled with the pink color. So this area is called as the primary motor cortex, and this is present in front of the central sulcus in the precentral gyrus and anterior part of the paracentral lobule, which is present on the medial side. This is called as the Brodmann's area number 4, which is asked as an MCQ various times in your exams. And in this, one should always remember that the body is represented in upside down manner. So this is the diagram which is in the coronal section. Here we can see the body is represented in the upside down manner. This pattern is called as the inverted homunculus, in which the tongue and the pharyngeal is in the lowest part, followed by there is the face region, then there is a hand, trunk and the thigh region, and lastly the leg, feet and perineum are represented on the medial side. And one should also remember that this size of the functional area is directly proportional to the skilled movement and not to the size of the muscle. So it is depending upon the skilled movement, not on the size of the muscle. Therefore, the face, especially the lip area and the tongue area, is quite huge or large areas, while the trunk and the lower limb area are the smaller areas. Now what will happen in the lesion of this primary motor cortex area? If there is lesion of the upper 1/3 and the paracentral lobule area, then this will lead to voluntary control loss in the lower limbs, because limb representation is in this area, as well as in the perineum region of the opposite side. Whereas if there is lesion in this lower 2/3 area, then it will affect mainly the head, neck, face region and the upper limb which is on the opposite side. It should be on the opposite side. Now the second area which is important in the frontal lobe is the premotor cortex area, and this lies anterior to the primary motor cortex area. The Brodmann has given the area number 6, and it is present in the posterior part of superior, middle and inferior frontal gyrus. Then the difference between this primary motor cortex area, that is area number 4, and area number 6 is that this area number 4, it consists of many giant pyramidal cells of bits, whereas this area number 6 lacks the giant pyramidal cells. So that's why this area number 4 is pyramidal, it contains the pyramidal fibers, whereas area number 6 is having the extra pyramidal fibers. So which are these extra pyramidal fibers? That is the corticorubral fibers, cortico-olivary fibers and corticonuclear fibers. Cortico-nigral fibers. One should also know the important function of this premotor cortex, that is, it helps in programming and preparing for the movement and control of the posture. So this is required. And mainly the afferents which it is receiving is from the ventral anterior nucleus of the thalamus. The lesions of the premotor area produce difficulty in the performance of the skilled movements. And one should always remember that the premotor and primary motor areas together are referred to as the primary somatomotor areas, which is also called as MS1. Now you might be thinking, what is MS2 then? MS2 is nothing but the supplementary motor cortex area is called as the MS2 area, and it is present on the medial surface of the premotor cortex. And again the same input they are having from the ventral anterior nucleus of the thalamus. So this supplementary motor cortex area lesion leads to bilateral flexor hypotonia with no paresis or paralysis. Other areas are the frontal eye field area, which is called as the Brodmann's area number 8, and it is lying in the posterior part of the middle frontal gyrus. And what's the function of this area is it controls the conjugate movements of the eyes. That is, when there is an unilateral damage, it causes conjugate deviation of eyes to the side of lesion. The motor speech area of the Broca's, okay, it is located in the inferior frontal gyrus of the left hemisphere. Mostly because we are right-handed, the left hemisphere is dominant. 70% of the cases it is in the left hemisphere. Brodmann has given it number as 44 and area number 45. The function of this Broca's area is production of the expressive speech or vocalization. And if there is a lesion of this motor speech area of Broca's, it will lead to expressive aphasia or the motor aphasia, that is inability to express the thoughts, answers or writing in spite of a normal comprehension. Means although the language is understood, it cannot be expressed in speech, even though there is no paralysis of the muscles of tongue, lip or vocal cords. The last area which is important in the frontal cortex is the prefrontal area, which is lying here, that is anterior to the premotor area, and it is having enriched connection with that of the parietal, temporal as well as the occipital cortex. The main function of this area is that it is in concern with the individual's personality. Again an MCQ for you all, that is, it is concerned with the individual's personality, such as the intellect, judgment, prediction, motivation and planning of the behavior. So that's why whenever there is a lesion of this prefrontal cortex, it will lead to change in the personality of that person. Now let's study the functional areas in the parietal lobe. Firstly, we are going to study the primary somatosensory cortex, also called as the primary sensory area, that is the area number 312. This area, which is shown here in red color, is the area which is present in postcentral gyrus or the posterior part of paracentral lobule, and that is the main primary somatosensory area. This area is in concern with the opposite half of the body, which is represented in upside down exactly in the same fashion of that of the primary motor area. So in this diagram we can see how it is in the upside down manner. Thus the thumb, the fingers, the lips as well as the tongue have a disproportionately large representation in this. That's why lesion of the primary sensory area leads to loss of appreciation of exteroceptive and proprioceptive sensations from opposite half of the body. Whereas the secondary sensory area is located in the upper lip of the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. And sensory association area is present in the superior parietal lobule corresponding to the area number 5 and 7. And that's why this region is in relation with stereognosis. So what is this stereognosis? It helps to recognize the objects when placed in one's hand without seeing it. Suppose we are holding the pen in our hand without seeing that pen. If we say that this is the pen, that is called as a stereognosis. And that's why lesion of this area will lead to tactile agnosia, also called as astereognosis. Other very important area which is present in the parietal lobe is the Wernicke's area, that is called as the sensory speech area, and this is located in the left side of the cerebral hemisphere, which is the dominant hemisphere we can say, and this is known as the language area. So this Wernicke's area is present in the inferior part of the parietal lobule, that is called as the inferior parietal lobule, where there is the angular gyrus, supramarginal gyrus were present. There is the location of Wernicke's area. And what is this helping us for is it is concerned with interpretation of language through the visual and auditory input. So that's why lesion of this Wernicke's area will lead to sensory or receptive aphasia, that is loss of ability to understand the spoken and written speech. So that's why whenever there is lesion in this area, the patient will have a fluent speech, but the problem is he is not aware of the meaning of the words. He uses the incorrect words or non-existent words, which is called as neologism. So the difference between the Broca's speech area and the Wernicke's speech area is that the site of the lesion of the Broca's speech area is in the posterior part of the inferior frontal gyrus, whereas Wernicke's aphasia or sensory aphasia, it is in the posterior part of the superior temporal gyrus, or we can say adjoining part of the inferior parietal lobule. Speech in case of the Broca's aphasia is non-fluent, whereas in Wernicke's it is the fluent speech. Then the comprehension of the spoken speech is good in case of the Broca's speech aphasia, whereas it is poor in case of the Wernicke's speech area.